You know, they're everywhere, but they're often hidden in plain sight. Things like sewers, tanks, silos, trenches. We call them confined spaces. And while they might look totally ordinary, they are, without a doubt, some of the most deceptively dangerous places a person can ever enter. So today, we're going to dive into what makes them so hazardous and why they demand our absolute attention and respect. So what exactly makes a space confined? It's not just about being small, actually. It really boils down to three key things. First, it has to be big enough for someone to actually get inside and do some work. Second, getting in and out is tough. Think of a manhole or a tiny hatch. And third, and this one is so important, it's a place that was never, ever designed for people to just hang out in. And once you get that definition in your head, you start seeing them absolutely everywhere. We're talking about the sewers running right under our feet, those giant storage tanks you see at industrial plants, farm silos, construction trenches, even the boilers that heat big buildings. Workers in tons of different fields run into these spaces every single day. This quote just gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? The stakes could not be any higher. When you're dealing with a confined space, there is zero room for error. One little misstep can be the difference between a totally routine job and a complete catastrophe. All right, so here's what we're going to cover. We've just talked about what a confined space is. Next, we'll get into the invisible dangers floating in the air and some of the other hidden threats. Then, we'll shift over to the tools and rules that keep people safe. And finally, we'll talk about the most important thing of all, the right mindset to have before you even think about going in. Okay, so the number one killer in a confined space is, without a doubt, the atmosphere itself. And why is that? It's because you can walk right into a deadly trap and have absolutely no idea. Your own senses are useless. You can't see it, you can't smell it, and you can't feel these dangers until it is way, way too late. These invisible hazards pretty much fall into four main buckets. You can have too little oxygen, which is bad, or, and this might surprise you, too much oxygen, which is also bad. You can have an atmosphere that's basically a ticking time bomb, ready to explode. And of course, you can have gases that are just flat out poisonous. Let's talk numbers, because this is critical. The air you and I are breathing right now, it's about 20.8% oxygen. But if that number drops just a tiny bit to below 19.5%, that space is officially oxygen deficient. This is the most common invisible killer in these spaces, and it can be caused by something as simple as rust forming on a wall. Now, what's really terrifying when you look at this chart is how fast the body just falls apart. Between 19.5 and 16% oxygen, you probably wouldn't even notice anything is wrong. But drop down to just 12%, and suddenly your heart is racing, you're getting confused. Go below 10%, nausea, passing out, death. And if it falls below 6%, you've got minutes, max. Your body just shuts down. This is a perfect example of why you just cannot trust your senses. Over on the left, you've got carbon monoxide, the silent killer. It gives you zero warning, colorless, odorless, nothing. Then on the right, you have hydrogen sulfide, which is even sneakier. It has that classic rotten egg smell, right? But it very quickly paralyzes your sense of smell. So you think the gas is gone, but it's not. It just disabled your body's built-in alarm. Then you've got the risk of a massive explosion. See, for a flammable gas to actually ignite, it needs just the right fuel-air mix. If there's too little gas, it's too lean to burn. If there's too much gas, it's too rich. The real danger zone is that sweet spot right in the middle. But, and this is a huge but, don't ever get comfortable in a rich atmosphere. All it takes is a little fresh air from an open door or a fan, and that rich mix can instantly become explosive. So, while the air is a huge problem, believe it or not, it's far from the only threat. So now let's look at some of the other dangers, physical, chemical, even psychological, that are just waiting inside these spaces. And the spectrum of risk here is just incredibly wide. You've got engulfment, where loose stuff like grain or sand can literally swallow a person whole. There are hidden mechanical parts, mixers, and gears that could start up. Then you have the physical stuff, electrical shock, simple slips and falls, deafening noise. On top of that, there are chemical burns from acids and biological hazards like bacteria and sewers. And even after all that, you have the psychological toll, the intense claustrophobia and stress that can be just as dangerous. Okay, we've laid out a pretty grim picture, right? So now let's talk about how we fight back. These threats are absolutely conquerable, but not with luck or guesswork. It takes technology, strict procedures, and a really disciplined approach. Look, if you take away only one single thing today, let it be this. In a confined space, your senses will fail you. Period. You have to rely on technology to tell you what's really going on in there, and you need a rigid plan to guide every single move you make. And this image, it really nails that point home. This is a universal rule of safety. It doesn't matter what language you speak. The message is clear. You must confirm if there are hazardous gases using reliable devices. These tools, they become your eyes, your nose. They are the only things you can trust. So what's in this toolkit? Well, it's pretty specialized stuff. You've got your portable detectors for doing quick checks, an explosimeter that's designed specifically to sniff out flammable gases, and even heavy-duty gear like the tank scope for big marine jobs. But honestly, the real game changers today are the modern personal alarms. And this is where modern tech just blows my mind. A single tiny alarm that you clip to your belt can now monitor up to 5 different hazards all at the same time. We're talking oxygen levels, flammable stuff, carbon monoxide, hydrogen sulfide, all at once. It's like having a real-time dashboard of the air you're breathing. Now, technology is one half of the equation. Procedure is the other. And this, right here, the work permit. It is a non-negotiable contract with safety. It lays out the exact job and how long it should take. It's only good for that one job in that one spot, and when that time is up, everybody gets out. No exceptions. Need more time? You get a whole new permit. It's that simple. And that brings us to our final section, and honestly, it's maybe the most important one. We've talked about all the dangers and all the tools, but at the end of the day, safety isn't something you just wear, like a hard hat. It's a mindset. It's something you have to bring with you before you even take a single step towards that entrance. So after all of this, the gases, the equipment, the permits, what do you think? What is this single most critical factor that makes sure someone goes home safe at the end of the day? Well, the answer isn't some fancy device. It's not a gas monitor or a safety harness. It's everything that happens before any of that stuff even gets used. It is thorough, detailed, almost obsessive planning and preparation. It's thinking through every possible thing that could go wrong and having a concrete, tested plan for it before that hatch is ever even opened. And this quote from safety expert Tamer Shiraki, man, it just says everything. Every rule, every piece of equipment, every bit of paperwork, it isn't just about checking a box. It's about protecting what is priceless. The entire system is built on one simple idea: protecting human life. So I hope the next time you walk past a manhole on the street or see a big storage tank, you see it a little differently. Not just as a piece of the landscape, but as a space that demands knowledge, caution, and a deep, deep level of respect. So I'll leave you with this. How will you approach it?